Lately, I'm not as surprised as I used to be. I thought these people were interested in the actors and the writers and the directors of this show and wanted to know about them and what they were doing. You're only as good as your last job. And then I went to my first convention many years ago now, and I realized that this was a place and a time in everybody's life that was different. It was sweeter or quieter, or everybody was younger, certainly. And they wanted to keep that. They wanted to keep that, their memories also of the show. They always know more about it than we did. And I can't possibly remember the intricacies that they can remember. So it was far more interesting to see this continue and to have people hold on to it. I think now it is dearer than it was even 10 years ago. Now I'm not so surprised. Now I kind of think it's wonderful too. I have no doubts. People on the show at the time that we were doing it, so many of them came from a background and a present experience of working in the theater. So we're used to working live. Lots of soaps that I do today, no one has ever been on the stage. No one is used to working live. They don't know that extra little kick. You don't really need an audience to get hysterical, to know that you can never do this again. You can never really repeat this. It's all live, even if it's just for a camera. And there were so many props and so many intricate costumes and so many moments of cobwebs and smoke and dirt and heads and little spare parts of bodies that were floating around, that we kind of took it in our stride after a while. But like young children and animals, those things don't always work perfectly all the time. We've all had our experience with the teeth. Where do you hide the teeth? Where do you keep the teeth? How do you put the teeth in and then bite somebody? How do you get them out in the commercial break so you look like you're back to normal? I remember the first time they told me that I had my little coffin and it was time to go in there, and don't worry, someone would get me out. And I had the teeth fixated on one side and my teeth on the other side. And the look as I was closed into the coffin was of a perfectly normal person. And in commercial break, I had to stuff all this stuff in my face and then lie there looking very calm, realizing that at any moment we could all develop claustrophobia. The first time they seal you in a coffin, you think, no, this was not in my contract. I never knew I had to do this. So the teeth part was fun. Being in chroma key was exceptional because you were acting all over the place and somebody else is acting on another stage and you can't imagine how this is going to come together. And you see it, and some days it comes together. And after you see all these props and things and costumes, after you go up and watch it, you go, oh my goodness, now I know what to do. There was nothing you could be prepared for. You had to just jump in and do it. So we were all neophytes in that way. And I did wear my cross that I always wear on the set one day, till a kind stagehand ripped it off my neck right before they sealed me into the coffin and said, no, vampires don't wear crosses. So we have constant ones like that. Dark Shadows was a very nervy show for its time, and it was the first one of things that now we take for granted. There was a set way of doing a soap opera. There was a set way of doing a nighttime talk show. We were all used to sitcoms done a certain way, and this wasn't. In any way. Even the daily shooting of it, having your own studio to go to, was phenomenal. We were Dark Shadows at that studio. That's it. There was nobody else there. We were probably forced to be better than our young talents for many of us, but I certainly absolutely speak for myself. So I think it was delightful. It taught me a lot about simple things. Getting along with people on a daily basis, acting with them, learning to have a job, learn lines, have a life, come to the studio the next day, get locked back into that persona so I could develop her further. I think all of us wishes we could do it again and do it better, but there's also something that would be completely lost in that. We were all of a certain age, and we grew up together on the show. It was lovely. It was lovely. I think of it fondly and learned probably more than I did on any of the other soaps I worked on after that. And you can't buy that kind of experience. And you also, I think, can't just remember the good things years later and say it was wonderful. 50% of it scared me to death every day, as I didn't know what I was doing. And I still remember even that part of it as a wonderful learning experience. Wonderful. And the fans were superb. And I always mention that one of them is now one of my agents. So you never know what's going to happen on these shows. It's phenomenal.